Good afternoon. My name is Normand Provost. I'm the head of International Card Standards at Desjardins Group. We're a Canadian-based cooperative financial institution. And like many of you in the room, we're in the acquiring, issuing, processing business. And around 2010, 2013, after implementing AMV, we did realize that we were spending way too much on our legacy system, trying to adapt them to our specific market requirements. And we were made aware of kind of a standardization initiatives that was led at the time by EPAS, org, and OSCAR. And so we decided to join and become a member. So today I'll be wearing, as a NEXO standard member, I'll be wearing my hat of the marketing and communication chair within the NEXO standards, as well as the person in charge of liaison and partnership with other standardization bodies. What I'll try to do today is to explain how you could view the standards. I know it's not sexy, but how you could use standards as a strategic tool rather than just viewing them as IT and protocols as they are. Many of my colleagues did address it earlier. The business is not simple. We're trying to do cross-border, and acquiring in a consolidated market is not that easy. One may say that we get that consolidated market because players are working together, or larger players are acquiring the others. Another may say the customers are everywhere, they borderless, so and we need to adapt. So those are, and you're familiar with them, and they were addressed earlier. So those are some of the issues. No matter if we're retailer, a PSP, a processor, a vendor, and even the card schemes, we're basically all face the same challenge, which could be quite difficult to address when you're looking at evolving and doing some cross-border, or trying to do something from an international point of view. Yes, the customer is everywhere. He wants to use and pay the way he wants and when he wants. He wants to live his experience wherever he is, either from a physical point of view or in the web point of view. So that omni-channel is important. Many of us are kind of looking at what could I do to better know my customer, get that data, analyze them, and providing that added value that they will make sure that those customers will come again and again, and I'll be answering their needs. One way of looking at it is that should I be unifying and simplifying my payment acceptance infrastructure? Should I be centralizing it or not? And you know, I had the chance earlier to spoke with some of you. Standards are protocols. There's one that exists today. 8583 is one being implemented everywhere. But there's thousands of versions of those protocols. So interoperability and ease of use or ease of integration is not that easy, and sometimes could become a nightmare trying to go from one country to the other, or just working with different vendors or different suppliers. So cross-border becomes an issue. And as I said, we're spending tons of dollars to make our system evolve, where we're all doing the same stuff. So we're all in the either acquiring business, issuing business, or so why don't we work together in making sure that we could then address the market needs. And that's where I think the standards may help connect the dots. As a French-born native, I was hoping today that I could present my presentation in French. That would be way easier for me. Certains d'entre vous m'auraient très bien compris, but in business, English is kind of de facto standards that everyone is using, making sure that we could understand each other and that we could interact with each other. And that might be a kind of a bizarre comparison, but if I were to speak another language, or if I was to continue my presentation in French, I would probably be the only one understanding what I'm saying today. So, and that's why it is important that people are working. So one of the great standard that is available today from a finance and payments point of view is the ISO 20022. And many of you are familiar with it, but maybe not that all those are now available from an ISO point of view. So ISO 2022 is not only on payments. You got security, you got trade services, you got FX, but you also got cards, and that's where NEXO standards get into play. And you need to look at them as kind of a, and that was mentioned earlier, kind of a building blocks where you could use all of those and providing a broader service and a broader expertise. So if as a bank I'm involved in faster payment, or if I'm involved in look, or if I'm a PSP and looking at PSD2 as an opportunity, I could use those and providing something way broader than I was initially thinking of. So a bit more about, I'll be coming very more specific on the card aspect, and that's because that's what we're at NEXO are doing. So what NEXO is doing is that we are enabling interoperability in global payment acceptance. So basically, we are, so NEXO is a specification provider. So we develop, we enable the payment, borderless card payment by standardizing the exchange of payment acceptance data between the merchant, the acquirers, the payment service provider, and the other payment stakeholders. And all that is based on the ISO 20022 methodology and protocols. So, as I said, NEXO is a specification provider. We are bringing together the all payment value chain ecosystems, and we're not just a European association, we're worldwide. And those specification and protocol today are being deployed worldwide. So as an example, Desjardins, as a Canadian-based company, we are using the protocol today. So, as I said, NEXO is a non-for-profit association, and the works that we do is based on the involvement of our members. And the ecosystem it's a collaborative ecosystem. So you need to view it, and it's not that easy, but you have in the same rooms all your competitors working with you and developing for the better goods. And that's the beauty of the association, because we're the only association that brings together all the experts of the payment acceptance ecosystem. So you have acceptors, you need to read here more as retailer or merchants. You have them, you have the processor, the vendors, the payment service providers, and the card schemes. So you could probably imagine that when you put all those people in the same room, they don't have the same opinion for everything. But the good news is that we are developing those specifications and those protocols in order to answer our needs and the market needs. And by bringing all those experts together, we're making sure that we are, in fact, representing what the market is really looking for. So what is it that we have to offer and that we develop? And by the way, NEXO has nothing to sell. So those protocols are free to use and royalty free. So I'm not there to sell you on stuff that you could buy, but mainly on why you should be using them, and from a strategic point of view, and use them within your organization, maybe to do something that you thought you wouldn't be able to do, but with the help of those protocols and specifications, you might be able to do. The other thing that we need to think of, as I said, you need to view it as the building blocks. I was speaking earlier with a gentleman, and they were thinking, okay, we need to provide a NEXO standard compliant solution by this time. And I said, yeah, But we have 44 members today in the association. So let's say I'll take Desjardins as an example. So we are an acquirer, and we are today using ACI Base 24 platform. So I could easily partner with ACI and say, okay, I'll use their new platform and I'll be compliant with the NEXO protocols. And we decided that we were to build our own payment application on the NEXO Fast specification, but we ported it on the NGINCO platform. But we could do it the same with the Verifone. We could do it the same with the Spire. We could do the same with Yellow. So I could use those partners and do the building blocks and being able to provide. And that's where I think you need to put competition aside and do more like a cooperation type of stuff, where you could work with all the members and making sure that you could provide the solution. Because it's not easy, but as it was mentioned earlier, you need to think differently if you want to penetrate those markets and expand your business. So, okay, this is what we have to offer and what our members have been developing. So we have a POI terminal payment application specification. So what it is exactly is that help to enable and provide an EMV integration. Also manage all the link between the payment application and the other protocols that you need to develop. So as an example, if you're thinking, I'm a bank, I used to be in the acquiring business, but the POS, and that payment application could be terminal-based, but it could also be server-based. So it doesn't need to be poured into a terminal. It could be used otherwise. So I could decide that I'll be developing my own payment application and then providing my merchant or retailer a solution. And as I said earlier, I could build the application and port it into a terminal vendor terminal, as we did. So no need for to wait for the terminal vendor to provide you the solution. You could own your own payment application and then port it into or integrate it into a terminal vendor today. That's what we did. We're providing as well the what we call our protocol. So those are ISO 20022 card payment exchange protocol, because that's what they do. We facilitate the exchange of information and those messages between the POI and the acquirer, the PSP, and even the terminal management system. And those protocols that we have today are the retailer protocol, the acquirer protocol, the terminal management system, or TMS protocol, and the ATM protocol as well. So we have been developing 4 protocols. And with those, we also provide, from a ISO 20022 point of view, the message definition report. So being very specific, explain the value, the business model, the business value, all the methodology that ISO is using, we're providing that. But more than that, we're providing also the user guide. So how should I use this acquire protocol and make that exchange work and develop those protocols. So we're providing quite an exhaustive guide and helping you guys developing it, implementing it. So as an acquirer, I would use the acquire protocol and I will get the recipe kind of on how should I implement that protocol and how should I link with the other, so either the POI or my payment application. The other thing that we do is that we're also providing guides on, we call it the implementation specification. So, and I'll show you on the next slide what that could mean. So let's say here you got the full value chain. So you got the retailer up to the acquirer, and then I have included in that the TMS platform. So we're providing all the protocols that could link that payment acceptance value chain. So if I'm a retailer, I may decide that, okay, I'll be working with my ACI guys and making sure that they'll support the retailer protocol that would be able to connect to the POI, the either terminal that would be, could be vendor specific, or it could be vendor agnostic, because the beauty of the payment application specification is that the architecture design is on the logical level, not on the specific hardware or software architecture. So you could be agnostic, vendor agnostic in doing so. Meaning, I could take my payment application and then incorporate it into any platform that exists today. So I'm not, yes, it would be working on, let's say, the operating system platform of the vendor, but it could be agnostic. I don't need to use all their services to do so. And that's the same for the so all those portions. So that's what we're providing. So in a way, if I want to do, let's say, I want to expand, I want to do cross-border, I want to make sure that deploying my payment acceptance solutions or strategy, and do kind of a plug and play in each country I'm going or each market I'm going. That's something that we could do. It is true to say that protocols are not solving everything, but it surely helps from a business point of view or from a strategic point of view to look at them more as an enabler of what could I do and how could I maybe expand or do stuff that I was using to do and take better control over my payment acceptance. So just to give you a glance of, those are some of our 84 members that are been helping us develop those specifications and protocols. Many of them are on the panel today or are either speaking later this week or are exhibiting at MPE. Please stop by and ask them about their NEXO standard journey. I'm sure they'll have an interesting story to say. As I said, do we have everything available today? The answer, probably not. But because the work we do is the involvement of our members and representing our member needs. And those members are the payment ecosystems players or stakeholders. So there's a lot of chance that the majority of what you're kind of looking for will be addressed by our specification and protocols. But that's a yearly basis process, as any ISO process. We need to make those protocols and specification evolves, and we are currently doing it as we speak. So as I said, you got the acquirer, retailer, TMS, and ATM protocols, and some are been implemented. Just as a quick snapshot, and I have some of those case studies at our booth, but those are some of that were kind enough to let us do some kind of a PR announcement around their integration of our deployment of those solutions. HPS is one of them. Thanks. So those are some, and there again, you could talk to them and they'll explain how easy or painful it was to do, because we're kind of building something new, but we are doing it from a collaborative point of view. So my takeaway for you, or what would be the value proposition, is that this, as I said, the specification and protocols are kind of answering the challenge we're all facing. So does it solve everything? Probably not, but it will surely help you do cross-border, because it will enable you to have multiple fully interoperable cross-border payment acceptance infrastructure. So as I said, plug and play. Each one of the partners that you'd be working with or that you integrate with would be supporting those standards. So don't have to replicate and do certification on specific, let's say, protocols, because we're all using the same. So it eases the expansion, but also it's really a pure kind of plug and play interoperability, because we're all speaking the same language and we do understand each other. So when I'm sending a payment request, POI knows what I'm talking about. Would also help you to fasten your expansion, either from a regional point of view or an international point of view. So moving from one country to another, working with those that have implemented the specification and protocols would be easy. Also provide, when developing it, kind of a consistent UX. So at the point of interaction, using multiple payment types will be delivering kind of a familiar way of payment services to your customer, because using let's say the NEXO fast payment application, the way you will be presenting information to your customer will be the same everywhere they'll be going. And sorry. And the fact that you're using standards will surely simplify and ease your integration. So you're getting time to market and you're lowering your costs. If you're a retailer, maybe you're not paying those because the PSP or the acquirer is paying them. But if you're an acquirer, you're surely incurring those costs. And lastly, and also help because you're speaking the same language and you're building from an harmonized point of view, you could add up on top of those in new services and innovation, so you don't have to do retrofit and all of that. And I forgot to say earlier, but the other value proposition that we have, and briefly mention it, is that we're providing guides and tools, and thanks to our partners, and Marie will be addressing this, we are kind of easing your way into integration of those standards and protocols. And I'll let Marie maybe explain. Thanks.
Thank you, Norma.